All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Skilty Labastilla from the Society of Filipino Film Reviewers. And with me is Xenia Patricia, who is the Director of Photography of the short film Filipiñana, nominated for Best Cinematography, among other categories, in the second Pinoy Review Awards. So basically, we just want to talk to you, Xenia, about your experience in shooting Filipiñana, as well as to get to know your story, behind your work in doing cinematography, mainly in short films, right? So just for us to get to know your work a bit more. Um, I will be joined by maybe some other members of the group can join in to listen or to ask some questions later. Um, all right, so let me begin with your background. Of course, you've been doing photography, cinematography in several short films already. But looking back at your life, when did you realize that you have that eye, that artistic eye, Xenia?
So yeah, I actually like did something come from a completely different background than film originally. Um, I think I was always like very interested in film since I was young, and like I always did photography at like school as well, developing my own film and everything. So it was, I guess, always something on the side. But then I actually studied Chinese and Korean at university, and then I was working in Korea as a researcher and sort of organizing sort of like exchanges between Germany and Korea of like professors and like academic level, and doing sort of research as well in Korea and working as
Right.
translator. So something very different in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it was a great experience and I really enjoyed it, but I felt while doing it that what I enjoyed about it was like the storytelling part and like sharing stories from these different cultures with other
Yeah.
people. And I kind of felt like the academic way wasn't really my way. Like I always wanted to express it in a way more like artistic form.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of the point, or I reached a point inside somewhere where it was like, okay, I always wanted, like, was interested, and then I learned more about the job of a cinematographer, which I didn't really knew before that it existed in that form. And yeah, so I quit my job and started working as a camera trainee. So it was like a big change.
Right.
And then I worked for a bit in the camera department, and then I went to film school after, because I was like encouraged from the DPs I worked with to go to school and shoot my own things. And yeah, that's kind of how I got to the UK. And that's where I met Rafael, the director of Filipiñana, actually. And we
Right.
did a short there together before Filipiñana. And yeah, I guess that's how it like all
Yeah.
sort of.
But uh, are you still based in Germany right now, or are you based in UK?
I'm based in the UK.
All right. Since your film school days, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. I was wondering, why did you choose the UK for your film school?
Um, I think I just really always enjoy being quite international and like
Okay.
meeting people from all over the world. I guess that's also why I studied Chinese and Korean, and
Yeah.
like I really love the cultural exchange. And so I kind of wanted to go somewhere where I have the opportunity to meet people from
Mm.
all over the world and help them tell their stories. And I think UK was definitely one of the places, I guess, because it's, especially London is so international and has so many international productions as well,
Mm.
that I felt it might be, yeah, nice to go there and try and see how it
Yeah.
works out. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm still here. So it's, yeah, nice.
So Raphael was your classmate in
Yeah,
film
he was my
school?
classmate.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned that you've done some work before you did Filipiñana with him.
Yes, we did. Actually, that was my first short film I DP'd, and it's a short called Dog Eater. And it's more of an experimental short film
Mm,
that we shot on 35mm in black and white. But yeah, it was a fun experience. And
yeah,
I think it helped us a lot with like also shooting Filipiñana because we already started developing a language together, and
right.
then I feel like working together again, it was much easier, like tapping back into the conversations we had before.
Yeah. Um, while in film school, were you already aware that you would concentrate on cinematography?
Yeah. I think
Oh,
like
okay.
while I was in film school, I was also on the side still like working in camera and lighting department outside of
Mm,
school. So I think it was something kind of
that's
really
nice.
trying to concentrate on, yeah,
All right.
cinematography.
Um, so can you tell us a bit about you mentioned earlier about, an international culture of filmmaking in London. Um, of course, we all know that the long history of filmmaking in the UK, but can you tell us a bit about the short film industry in London? Is it more um, academe based, film school based, or are there also short films coming out of the general population, not coming from film schools?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of shorts that are coming out from, especially there's like small production companies that
Mm,
support short films, and I often see even like young directors forming their own production companies. Actually, I think because there's a lot of like, I guess, a strong actor and theater base in the
yeah.
UK, I actually see a lot of directors coming more from theater or acting
Mm,
backgrounds, and then
right.
sort of going into like short film form first and
Mm.
trying out sort of like going into the film world.
Um, the next few questions, Xenia, would focus on your thoughts on aspects of cinematography. So let me begin with maybe what was your first ever camera, and how did you get it?
Oh, my first camera. I actually don't really own a video camera.
Oh,
So I have a lot of stills cameras.
right,
I think
right.
my first one was a Nikon F2, and then I had like a Hasselblad and my Mia, like, but yeah, I never owned a
Not a video camera.
video camera.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But you had these still cameras as a young girl?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So my high school actually had a dark room, so we could
Mm,
develop our own film. So I think like once I tried it, I just really loved it. I spent like so
yeah.
much time in there, and then I got my first own camera, and yeah, I think
All right.
kind of started from there.
So after Filipiniana, um, of course you've done several other short films, right? Um, can you tell me about how you approach your communication with your director in designing the visual strategy of the film? Sorry, the film that you're working on.
I think for me, the first few meetings are just really just about the script
Mm,
and I think the vision of the director, because I feel always like the script has some part of the director in them. So the more I feel I know about the director and what is important to them, the more I feel I understand the characters that
yeah.
they're writing about. And so I like to spend quite a lot of time just really talking about what's not in the script, but what
Mm,
they're thinking about when they're writing the script.
mm,
Um, because for me, that's kind of, I guess, the foundation of then thinking about the visual language and really supporting what they want to express with their film. And then I think from there, then we start, or I like to start like compiling references, kind of more broad from like photography a lot, art, and like other films, and just like starting a conversation with the director of like feeling what they feel appropriate and what I feel can be interesting in order to create the language for the film.
Yeah. So I'm also curious, of course, after working with Raphael, you've done probably 7 or so other short films. Do you also know the directors of these films from film school, or how did you know these people?
Some of them I know through film school, but others I know, I mean, some of them are like random connections of people I know, and they know someone else, and they know someone. So it's always like, I guess, like spreading by word of mouth in a way. And then you meet them and you have like an interview, or they interview several people, and then it's kind of like that kind of process. And then others I met actually through film festivals. So people watched films I shot and they got in touch, and then we started talking and like see if we're both like interested in the project and working together, and then so kind of developed from that.
Who are your some of your influences in terms of cinematography?
Oh. I don't know. I think not sure I have a clear. I probably have, but I think I'm not really consciously aware.
Right. Yeah.
What maybe.
It happens to me sometimes. When pressed for a name, I couldn't think of one name. But yeah, in terms of maybe I don't know. In terms of style, is there a description that you can come up with to describe your photography style?
It was my style. I am not sure.
Not sure. Right. No problem. Yeah, but I think you've already described your sort of how you approach, right? Working with a director, really getting to know the story behind the film. So I kind of already have an idea actually about how you work. But maybe looking at the films that you've done so far, is there a pattern that you can see in terms of I don't know, some shot making, or do you feel like your style of cinematography would differ from one film to the next, depending on how you communicate with the director?
I think there's definitely it changes working with different directors as well. I guess it also depends on how much freedom the director gives you as a cinematographer at times. I think for me, I'm definitely someone who likes to push to choose more risky options rather than playing it safe. I guess that's why I maybe work on a lot of more art house film forms.
Okay.
I think that's why I'm kind of interested in like how can we create a new language or a particular language. And I guess I'm very interested in blocking and sort of like working with blocking in order to create a very interesting frame. So for me, I always look like how high or like a character's in the frame. How do we create foreground, middle ground, background? So I think this is like something I'm very interested in. Yeah.
Right. I while you're talking, I suddenly remember particular shot from Filipiñana where the angle was, well, of course we were looking straight at the main character, but the camera was coming from the angle, um, showing the golfer practicing the putting,
Oh yeah.
and of course it's like in between the legs of the putter, and we see the main character there, and it really spoke volumes about, about the relationship of the main character with golfers in that particular place. So I remember that because there are not a lot of films that can think of those kinds of approaches to really hammer the point of course, the theme of Filipiñana is inequality in the Philippines. So in that case, that particular shot is sort of effective for me. Maybe you can talk a bit about that particular day when you shot that scene.
Yeah, we actually shot this film in two different golf courses because we could only shoot during maintenance day.
Oh, okay.
So well, basically, yeah, when the golfers weren't there. So this was in one of the golf courses where we were allowed to use the driving range to shoot it. And I was lucky that I actually had a lot of time for pre-production in the Philippines. So I could actually go to the driving range before we were shooting there and observe the real tea girls working there. And I think that I went together with the director a lot. And I think that also inspired us, like going for this shot and just like seeing how sort of reality works. And obviously we work or transformed in a very stylized way in the film.
Yeah.
But we felt like by transforming it, it actually brings us closer, or the reality even like clearer to us. But yeah, because we also chose 4x3 to kind of help us with sort of reflecting social hierarchy in the frame. And I think that shot plays into that form of like, she's like suppressed at the bottom and he's standing over her. And then we have that shot. I can't remember if all of them are in the film, but we shot it 3 times, and each time we went on a longer like lens, like closer. So it felt like it's kind of more and more like closing in on her throughout the film. So yeah.
Speaking of shots, can you talk some more about looking at your filmography so far? Can you pinpoint a specific shot that has stayed with you until now, or has become one of your favorite shots in all your films? And can you describe it to us?
Oh, favorite shot.
Sorry for these very specific questions.
No worries at all. Just trying to think. I'm not sure if I have a favorite. I think that maybe like every project is so different,
right?
And I feel like different shots work really well for me for different films.
That I kind of agree. It's based on the context of the film, so you can never really single out a specific shot without understanding the film as a whole. So but going back to Filipiñana, how many days did you stay in the Philippines for in shooting this film?
So I actually stayed quite long. I stayed 2 months.
Okay.
I think I had 1 month in pre-production because I came quite early. So we actually visited a lot of golf courses and like went around. And it was nice for me because it was my first time in the Philippines. And I think it really helped understanding a lot as well of the world that we were trying to portray and just spending a lot of time there. And then we shot over 1 month because we could only shoot, I think, Mondays and Wednesdays.
Okay.
So 2 days a week because we had the 2 different golf clubs. So yeah. So it was a lot of breaks in between.
And then we actually have a category called best scene, and one of the scenes from Filipiñana was in the top 10, and that scene was the karaoke scene towards the end, right? Um, and Kyle mentioned that you shot that in some of the one of the bars along EDSA. Um, did you shoot that uh, towards the end as well of your shoot?
Yes, we shot it towards the end of the shoot
Yeah,
because we wanted to sort of have it more at the end, because obviously it's also acting wise a very emotional
yeah, yeah.
scene.
So compared to the scenes in the golf courses, was it fairly easy to shoot that particular scene for you?
Um, I don't know. It had its own challenges, I
Yeah.
think. But yeah, I think it helped a lot that the production designer and I had a lot of time to
Mm.
work on the production design together. And yeah, but yeah, we wanted to, so basically I wanted to have a connection between the golf place and the karaoke bar. So that's why I wanted to have this disco ball,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah,
has
yeah.
like the round dots which look like golf balls
Oh
kind of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
thing around. But in order to get these golf balls, the disco ball had to spin very slowly. But obviously
Oh,
normally it spins a lot
faster.
faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the main challenge was like we built a rig with like brushes to kind of like ease the speed of
Oh.
the training ball, and like, so yeah, it was a
Yeah,
fun little
that's
detail
inventive.
of shoot.
Um, all right. I have another sort of more general question. So far, of course, you spoke about the challenge of that particular scene, but um, if you go back to your film so far, what was your most challenging film, and why?
Hmm. Um, I think I think maybe I did this short called After Room.
Mm,
Um, I think that was maybe a challenge or a new challenge for me because it involved a lot of like intimate scenes as well
mm,
as the director directing it and acting in it. And we were shooting it on 16 mil.
okay.
So we didn't really had any playback as well for her to see. So I think it was, yeah, it was a challenge of like I wanted to create obviously kind of space for them to feel like comfortable as well, because it's a lot about intimacy, but also I guess she was like hoping that I would also watch out for the acting and performance as well as kind of like watching what we're filming. And I think I really enjoyed the experience, but
Yeah,
also it's really about like trust building and
yeah.
like finding ways to, yeah. So I
So
think in
yeah,
that way it was, because I think otherwise like cinematography wise, it wasn't that much of a challenge because
yes,
it was only
yes,
contained into like one location. But I
right.
think it was a good challenge for me just working on that relationship and
Yeah,
how can I support the director to feel comfortable as
right,
well.
right.
And
That's really
yeah.
interesting, no? Because as you mentioned, it's in terms of cinematography, it's not so much a difficult task, but there are other things to do outside of cinematography that are also important. So I'm happy that you brought that up. Um, right now, what do you think is the current state of cinematography in mainstream cinema? If you're familiar with Hollywood cinema versus world cinema, do you see some trends, good or bad, in terms of cinematography?
Um, Oh, that's a big, it's a big question. I mean, world cinema, I think cinematography wise, I think for the last few years, there's definitely, I think like very naturalistic
Mm,
style has been like quite big.
yeah,
For world cinema, I kind of feel everything is green screen.
yeah, yeah,
I don't know. It's like, yeah, like even the costumes nowadays are becoming just the
yeah.
costume suits. And I guess we have now virtual reality, kind of like the LED screens,
Mm,
which is a new thing. Um, but it's very new so far, and could be interesting, I think. I mean,
yeah,
I used it before for a commercial, but then yeah, I like being on locations and
yeah, yeah. I would understand
being in the real
that.
space and creating
Yeah,
it. I think
yeah.
green screen, it's, yeah, it's a lot of imagination, a
Mm.
lot of
Um,
VFX. Yeah.
yeah. I was wondering if you closely follow German cinema.
To be honest, not so
Not so
much.
much. Yeah, but of course, it also has a long history, right? And you've done so well in
Yeah.
producing quality films that have been recognized in the Oscars, for example. Um, but yeah, I just suddenly remembered. Of course, uh, I, I I can name a couple of films, but I remember. I'm not sure if you've seen The Lives of Others. Was that a German film? The Lives of Others. Let me just search IMDb because I kind of remember that it's a 2006 um, by Florian
Oh, I
Henkel
think
von
I think I
Donnersmarck.
know.
Yeah,
It's like a East German.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I actually have to admit that I haven't
You haven't
watched.
seen it.
I
Yeah,
haven't
I
seen.
I, I really like
I
this film a lot.
really.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
heard that it's really good. Yeah. I have to admit that I watch more Austrian
Oh,
cinema
okay.
than German.
More
So
Austrian than German. All right.
yeah, I'm a big fan of like Haneke and Ulrich Seidel and
Oh,
like the
of
more
course.
like
Yeah,
darker.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what movie do you wish you had shot?
Oh, good question. Hmm. I don't know which movie I wish I would have shot, but I know I would have loved to work with like Lucretia Martel. I really love
Oh,
her,
yeah,
her
yeah.
like her work. And um, yeah, I think also like Ulrich Seidel, I feel is a very
Ulrich Seidel.
interesting filmmaker. I think these two. I don't have a specific film I
Right,
feel like
right,
I wish I
right.
would have shot, but I think their visions are very interesting, and yeah.
That's nice. Um, the pandemic has forced many people to watch films through their laptops or TVs. I'm not sure. Do you consider these things when you shoot films? Like, do you factor in uh, when you come up with a visual design of a film? Do you think, oh, because right now these films might not be seen on the big screen because of the pandemic, so maybe I would make sure that the the framing would sort of fit into the smaller screen that people watch more often these days.
I think when I shoot, I yeah, no, I don't really think about a smaller screen, but I
Yeah,
guess it's also because I watch a lot of films which are intended for the big screen also on my on my laptop at times. So I think,
yeah,
and it works for me.
right.
What we do is in the color grade.
Yeah, okay.
Have different versions, basically one for the big screen and one for web sort of
Okay,
use, because the gamma sources are slightly different.
okay.
But
Makes
then,
sense.
yeah, actually grading remotely has been quite a challenge.
Yeah, I
Because
would
then you
imagine.
realize how every laptop has actually a different kind of color.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
even if you calibrate it and everything. So
In the UK, are cinemas open already?
yes, yeah.
Oh,
Here
good
in
for
the
you.
UK, everything is open.
Good for
Actually.
you. Here in the Philippines, like I haven't seen a film in the cinema for like 2 years. So
Really?
yeah, everything is through the laptop and TV. That's how, yeah, it's really bad here in terms of course you miss you miss going out with friends and family, but yeah, that's we deal with what we have. Um, maybe a final question for you, Xenia. Um, do you what are your future plans? Are there any, for example, full length films that you're planning on working on, or other projects that you have in mind?
Yeah, there are a couple of full-length projects that I am kind of attached to, but they're still in the development
Yeah.
process. So maybe one of them we're going to recce soonish, hopefully
Yeah.
starting the recce, but then it will still probably take some time
Okay.
until we start like principal photography. And others are at times still waiting some sort of production. One of them is an adaptation of a book. So I think there's some rights that still need to be clear. So I think there's like, they're there, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's always a long process.
Yes.
So yeah, but I would really like to move into like long format sort
Mm.
of films. And then I'm quite interested in fashion projects as well. So I've
Okay.
done some fashion commercials and I'm shooting an experimental fashion film next week. And then
Mm.
I have another one planned. I think it's a nice short project that you can do
Yeah.
in between. And
That's
yeah,
nice.
it's interesting, very
Right.
visual to
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure.
do.
All right. Yeah, it's been fun talking to you, Xenia. Again, thank you so much for gracing us this short interview. And congratulations once again for being nominated for your work here
No
in
worries. Thank you
Filipiñana.
so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day. Bye
You
bye.
too. Bye.